Hi class, today we're going to be talking about spending and saving and how to be responsible. So first we're going to review what needs and wants are. From our previous lesson we learned that a need is something that we have to have. Like we must have it to survive. So for example, we have to have water to survive. And then a want is something we don't need but would like. So it's not a necessity, so something that we don't exactly need but we would love to have it. So an example would be, we don't need a video game, but we would like it for entertainment. So this gets us into our new lesson today of what is spending. So spending is paying out money for a good or service. So an example of that would be, I bought a pizza. This means I spent my money on pizza. I only spent my money on this pizza because this is the good or service that I am buying with my money. So now we're going to talk about the opposite of spending. So the opposite of spending is saving. So what is saving? Saving is holding on to our money. So instead of spending it, we're saving it for a later time. So this could be like putting it in a piggy bank, putting it in a bank account, putting it in a jar, just somewhere to keep it so we aren't tempted to spend it. And just keeping it in a safe place is always a good option. So an example would be, I am saving my money for a new car. So I'm saving my money right now to buy a car in the future. So now we're going to go over a couple examples of what should I spend my money on. So this or that. So either Legos or fruit. So really it's Legos or food. So just pause the video and think for about 10 to 20 seconds of what you think you should spend your money on. Okay, so if you said you should spend your money on fruit, you're correct, because that's something that we need. It's a necessity. We need food to survive. We don't really need Legos. We would like Legos to play with, and that would be a want, but it's not actually something that we have to have. So the next example of this or that is a car or video games. What is something that we need versus something that we want? So what would be a good choice in this situation? Pause the video for another 10 to 20 seconds and think about that. Okay, so if you said a car, you would be correct. A car is something that we need. We need it to travel and to drive versus a video game is something that we would like to have. We don't actually have to play games. But in order for us to get to work, transport, to go to school, anything like that, we need a car to be able to do that.
We are now going to do a read aloud. Today's book is titled The Berenstein Bears, Trouble with Money by Stan and Jan Berenstein. Brother Bear and Sister Bear knew quite a lot about the ways of bear country. They knew where the most beautiful wildflowers grew. They knew where the wild berries were the thickest and juiciest. They knew the best spots for watching sunrises and sunsets. They knew where all the best honey trees were. They even knew a very special place where you could almost see a rainbow from a secret space behind the waterfall. But there were some things they didn't know very much about. One of the things Brother and Sister Bear didn't understand very well was money. Oh, they knew money was fun to have and even more fun to spend. And whenever they got some, as a present, or for doing a chore for a neighbor, or for no reason at all from Grizzly Gramps, who tended to spoil them, or from Papa Bear, who spoiled them even more, they ran as fast as their legs could carry them to the Bear Country Mall and spent it. For honeycomb on a stick, a balsa wood glider that did loops, a tiny little mouth organ that only played 3 notes. They never bought anything sensible, and they hardly ever saved. Once in a while, Sister put money in her piggy bank, but she usually shook it out again before it had a chance to cool off from her hot little hand. Brother didn't even have a piggy bank. Mama was becoming concerned about the cubs' carefree, spendthrift way with money. I think Brother and Sister should have a regular allowance, she said one evening when she and Papa were working with the family books. An allowance? Said Papa. Yes, so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save, to plan ahead. Oh no, said Papa, they're much too young for that sort of thing. Let them enjoy themselves. They'll have to worry about money soon enough when they're grown-ups," he added with a sigh. But it was Papa who first lost patience with their carelessness about money. It happened one day when the Cubs had been at a mall spending some pennies a neighbor had given them for walking her dog. That was when they saw a new video game. It was called Astro Bear, and it looked very exciting. "A video game at the mall?" Papa shouted. "You must think I'm made of money." The Cubs thought no such thing, and when they pictured it, it seemed very strange. Mama could see that they were puzzled, and she explained, "Made of money is a figure of speech, my dears." That's when the Cubs realized that the situation was serious, because Papa Bear only used figures of speech when he was upset. "You must think money grows on trees," he shouted, another figure of speech. "Video games indeed," he continued, becoming more and more upset. "There was no such thing as video games when I was a cub. Why, I didn't even know what money was until I was almost grown." "Precisely, my dear," interrupted Mama, "and that's why this might be a very good time to start brother and sister on a regular allowance so they can—" "Absolutely not," roared Papa, knocking over a chair. "They must earn their money. That's what life is about. Working, earning money, saving for a rainy day." The Cubs knew how really serious the situation must be. Papa had used 3 figures of speech and knocked over a chair. They decided right then and there to mend their careless spendthrift ways. It turned out that the Cubs were very good at earning money once they set their minds to it. First, they gathered wild flowers from those special places they knew about. Then they made them into bouquets and sold them by the side of the road. Business was very good. They gathered those fat, juicy wild berries and sold them door to door. Business was very, very good. Brother and sister were turning out to be even better at making money than they had been at spending it. They organized guided tours of Bear Country's finest beauty spots. Sister's piggy bank was jammed full. They started a very successful pet minding service. Brother had to borrow Mama's sugar bowl to keep the extra money in it. At first, Papa was very impressed and pleased. But when the Cubs started to sell maps showing the locations of all the best honey trees, Papa began to have doubts. "Those honey trees are a family secret," he complained. "The Cubs don't seem to understand that some things are more important than money. They've gone from caring too little about money to caring too much. Why, just look at them. They're turning into greedy, selfish little misers right before our eyes," he continued. He pointed at the Cubs, who did, indeed, look like little misers greedily counting their money.
"Cubs," said Papa in his sternest voice, "we're going to have another talk." But before he could start his speech, the Cubs took all the money they had earned selling flowers and berries, doing chores, minding pets, and selling honey tree maps, and dumped it on his lap. "Here, Papa," said Brother. "This is for you." "That's right," said Sister. "We thought if we made some money for you, you wouldn't have to worry about it so much. We hope it's enough." Papa was so startled and so embarrassed at having been so wrong about them that he was speechless. "That's very generous," said Mama. "It's quite a sum of money, and I know Papa appreciates it. But I have what may be a better idea. Papa does worry about money, of course. Most mamas and papas do from time to time. But what Papa's really worried about is you. He wants to be sure you understand that there's more to know about money than how to spend it." "You know what I think," said Papa. "I think we should start brother and sister on a regular allowance so they can learn to use money sensibly, to save, to plan ahead." "An excellent idea," said Mama, smiling. "What about the money we earned?" asked the Cubs. "You earned it, and it's yours," said Mama. "What I suggest is that we take it down to the mall and put it in the Bear Country Bank." "Good suggestion," said Papa. "That money can be your nest egg." "Oh, dear," cried the Cubs together. "Another figure of speech." "And a very appropriate one," said Mama. She explained that the nest egg is the one the farmer leaves in the nest to hatch another chick. When you put money in the bank, it hatches interest. "Interest?" asked the Cubs, puzzled. "The bank will pay you for leaving your money there. That's called interest." That day, the Bear family went to the bank and opened an account for the Cubs. It happened that the bank was right next to the video arcade. "Say, that looks interesting," said Papa when he saw the Astro Bear game. "Let's give it a try." So the Bear family gave Astro Bear a try. Papa ended with the lowest score. "You know," he said, "we didn't have video games when I was a cub. Will you give me another chance at this sometime?" "Any time at all," said brother and sister, giving their papa a great big hug. The end. Now we are going to go over the main points in the book we just read. In the beginning of the book, we learned that Brother and Sister Bear loved to spend money. They both spent all their money on a video game. Papa Bear told the Cubs they needed to work, earn their own money, and save it. Towards the middle of the book, we learned that Brother and Sister Bear started making money doing various jobs and got their own piggy banks to save their money. Papa Bear thought the Cubs were getting greedy with their money by selling everything, but the Cubs gave all their earnings to Papa Bear, who then realized that he was wrong about the Cubs. And at the end of the book, we learned that Brother and Sister Bear started their own Bear Country bank account. Let's review so far what we have learned about spending and saving money. We learned that it is appropriate to save your money when you do not have anything you need to buy. An example of this would be putting your money in a savings account. It is appropriate to spend money when you need something important. An example of this would be spending your money to buy a coat for winter. Now I'm going to go over further instructions on what to do next. So in the Google Classroom, there's a Kahoot link. Once you get in there, click on the link. Then you'll type in your nickname and click Go. After you complete the Kahoot, there is a worksheet. In the Google Classroom, the link is under the Kahoot step. After you get in the worksheet, answer all the questions, then click Submit when you are finished.